Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and we're back out here in the garage for another First Impressions video. I was able to take a gun to the range tonight. I did plan on taking two, in fact I did take two, but I was only able to film one. And when I go to the range, I like it to be where I'm just by myself. I go late at night, and after I finish the review of the first one, or filming the shooting footage for the first one, some very nice people came in. They were there to test out some guns they recently bought, B&T TP9, and I think a Colt Python. So some pretty nice guns. So I was like, I had a good time with the first one, so I'll just go ahead and pack up and go another day. But the gun I was able to film footage with is the Atlas Gunworks Titan. It's my understanding this was their very first pistol. And this particular one was kind of made up by Vulcan Machine Works here in North Texas with all of the gold trim. But everything else about it, it's my understanding, is pretty stock. It's just that finish on all the small parts to kind of upgrade it. And I should also remind you, in case you're seeing this video and you don't understand what this channel is, being the Texas Gun Vault 2, it implies there's a Texas Gun Vault 1. That is my main channel. This is my behind-the-scenes channel. This is not a review. It's not a review. I literally just got home from the range with this thing and just like to have a good conversation with my biggest fans about what I experienced. And I still haven't edited the range footage, so you're not going to see any of that. And I haven't formulated all my final thoughts. So go over to my main channel and you'll get to see the final product of all of the guns that I review. So let's talk about my first impressions with this. Now, I have reviewed a few other Atlas 2011s, and I have a interesting general opinion about Atlas in that I think I like their build just about as, I don't know, it might be my favorite. They're just as good as even the stuff that's twice what this thing costs. And this thing is really expensive. And I'm talking the top tier. I think Atlas makes some of the nicest 2011s. But when it comes to the way that they shoot for me, I still shoot Staccatos better in general. So it's one of those things where it's just, I can appreciate the build, I appreciate the design, I appreciate everything that goes into them. I love the kind of the company philosophy of the naming convention, all the kind of ancient Greek mythology stuff. But I've never loved Atlas. I've appreciated them for what they were, but when I put them up against a Staccato, I'm like, I shoot the Staccatos better and they're like half the price. This one's different. Very different. This Titan is, I guess, their full size. And in many ways, it's very similar to my favorite Staccato, the XL. And it shoots like the Staccato XL, but made nicer like an Atlas. And being an older 2011, and this is something, if you're a 2011 aficionado and know a lot about the design of the 2011, I would like to know what you know about their recoil springs and how they've developed over time. So let me explain. My first foray into 2011s was, well, quite a few years ago, and I guess it's kind of like when they were becoming more and more popular. And the thing that really stuck out to me about 2011 pistols, obviously these are 1911 style firearms that are double stack, but usually chambered in 9mm, designed for competition. Not all, but most are. And the thing that stuck out to me when I would fire these guns is when I would rack the slide, it was almost a surreal experience, because when you rack the slide on a Glock or a 1911, the typical recoil spring has a certain power to it, a certain tension. So you're fighting that recoil spring, and you know when you're pulling that slide back, it's substantial. And you understand why, because of the laws of physics. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So all of the energy that goes into projecting the projectile going downrange, you have an equal amount of force coming back into the gun, which the slide, which essentially is the bolt, has to manage. And so it uses that power to push the slide back, eject the cartridge, load the whole round, all that kind of stuff. And when you pull the slide back on a 1911, a Glock, a Beretta, it feels proportional to what you think it should be. But with a 2011, it almost seemed too easy. It was like racking the slide on a 22 long rifle. And it was weird to me at first because when I would shoot a 2011, I always felt like the slide was moving slower. And I was like, there is no way in hell that weak recoil spring was going to mitigate the power of the cartridge and be able to chamber the next round. But lo and behold, for the most part, it did. And I don't know how they moved all of the power and the power management of the physics of the gun, but it worked. And I always wondered, is it going to damage the frame? But it never did. But as I've reviewed more 2011s, that recoil spring weight has changed in general. I no longer feel that 2011s made today have those really light recoil springs, but instead have more powerful recoil springs. What has changed? What has changed about the designs? I don't know. But being that this is one of their older designs, and in fact, I think it is their OG design, the original one, it has that older style recoil spring in it, where it feels like it's so easy to rack. Like, that is almost too light. You know what racking a slide on a 9mm should feel like, and that does not. And it's not about the smoothness, it's about the resistance. So it feels like an old school 2011, which many guns that I review that are made today don't have that feel. But it does have the issue that I did experience early on, where if one of these magazines is completely topped off, and I believe these are 22 round mags, both in the hollow point test and in the mag dump test, the slide was not able to successfully pull off that first round because it just wasn't strong enough. On the hollow point test, I kind of pushed the slide in the battery, and on the mag dump test, I think I pulled the slide back and I let it go and kind of pushed it a little bit harder, and it went. So I don't know. That's something I'm going to have to look into. Besides that, the gun ran great. I had some, I'm going to say, erratic ejections with the first round, or the first rounds through the gun. The last round in the magazine did not fully eject. It actually kind of stayed inside of the ejection port. The slide locked open, but it didn't eject the round. And I started to follow where the gun was ejecting to, and it was kind of all over the place. So this was, and feels like, those old 2011s, kind of the originals. And it's definitely different than modern ones, and it's worthy of taking note. But when I shot it, it felt like a Staccato XL, but with a metal frame, and it shot just as good. This thing is awesome, and hands down is the nicest shooting Atlas Gunworks pistol I've ever shot. And that's saying a lot, because the other ones shoot pretty good. I mean, I don't ever really fall in love with them. This one I do. This one I do. This is really nice. I still think the Staccato XL is my favorite, but this one is a close second. And unfortunately, it's a model they don't make anymore. And maybe they don't make it for a certain reason. I don't know. It's the full size. It has the old school kind of recoil spring in it. Don't know. I just shoot these really well, just like I shoot the Staccato XLs really well. But it wasn't a perfect review. As I said, we had some issues not being able to take the first round off the top of a fully loaded magazine. Accuracy was amazing. We had some erratic ejections and weak ejections. Besides that, 100%. And I do wish the grip safety was functional. Instead, it's just kind of pinned in place. I don't like that about these higher-end 2011s. I know it's a competition gun, but this trigger is really light, really nice, and I would like to have an extra safety between me and the gun going boom, especially one that does not affect the trigger pull like the grip safety. So there you go. That is my first impressions with the Atlas Gunworks Titan. It says RDS. So I was also going to shoot the Heritage Arms Roscoe tonight, and that's still in the range bag, and that will probably go maybe tomorrow or the day after. So this one goes in queue, and I just have to go and edit the range footage. All right, so that's everything about that gun. Tell me what you think about Atlas Gunworks and the Titan, if you know anything, and the history and design changes of 2011s from their inception to the present day. And do you know anything about the recoil springs? Because I know they have changed. The ones that I reviewed today that are made today definitely feel different and shoot different than the early ones. And the biggest difference is that recoil spring. All right, so let me go and get my computer out. And I'm sorry, when I get it out, it's probably going to have this stupid, annoying fan sound. It's a little bit hot here in the garage. And the fan on my computer is the loudest laptop computer I've ever heard. And I want to answer your questions from my last question and answer video, because some of you asked some really interesting ones, and I don't remember exactly what they are. So let me go get this thing. And of course, as soon as I open it, man, it sounds like a 747 is about to take off. Oh, there we go. Yeah, and I cannot do anything about that stupid fan. So let me go ahead and pull up that last video and see what questions you guys asked, because I remember promising people I would answer them in the next one. And maybe I should have gotten this out. All right. So let's go to the Texas Gun Vault 2. And let's make sure my volume is down, because I'm sure something will autoplay. And let's go to my content and frequently asked questions and go to the comments. And here we go. All right. So some of these are funny and some of them are serious, but I did mention, I kind of joked, I said, you know, you can ask me anything like when did I go bald? And some people actually asked that. So the first question comes from Texas Eskimo, who is a good friend of the channel, a local friend and subscriber, and he lent a couple guns to the channel in the past. He says, am I going to go bald too? Well, I will say the Texas Eskimo has a nice head of hair. I'm quite impressed. I don't think so. All right, Terry D. Johnson asked, question, other than firearms and music, if you could instantly master any skill or hobby, what would you choose and why? Well, I guess the key there is instantly, because I'm one of those people that I can pretty much learn anything really quickly that I'm interested in and I set my mind to. I just have to be interested in it. If I had to pick something though, I would say, because I like to think I can pretty much do everything I want to do now. What would be a good skill to have? Besides music and firearms, I would probably say either metalworking or wood crafting. Like, I'm not good at that. I mean, I would like to know how to weld. You know, I'm not talking about like industrial welding, but like tack welding and spot welding for like cars, exhaust, metal, like small fabrication. That would be really cool. And then woodworking. I am horrible at woodworking. I don't have the patience. I don't have the time. I don't have maybe the desire. But I have some friends that make some beautiful furniture that can do some amazing things, cabinetry and so forth. And I'm always impressed by what people can do with wood. All right, let's see here. Next up, I got a question from Honda Asaurus, and he asks, as to revolvers, did you consider doing a review on a Taurus Judge in 410? And the answer is yes, I would do one. I've never had the opportunity to shoot one. The closest thing I've ever had to a Taurus Judge is a while ago I had a Smith & Wesson Governor. I kind of like the Governor more than I like the Taurus Judge. I know the Taurus Judge is kind of like the original. You know, you can shoot, was it 45 long Colt, 45 ACP, and 410 through it. And I don't think I ever shot it. I think I got it, and then I ended up trading it for something else. But I've never reviewed one of those revolvers that can shoot 410. And it would be fun. And my range has a policy that you can't shoot shotgun in it, but I don't think that technically would count, even though it's just 410. I kind of wonder why they don't let 410 in the indoor range, because that wouldn't, damage much at all. But yes, I would. I've considered it, and I would like to. I've just never had the opportunity. DB2A7 asks, diminishing returns. What do you feel is the threshold? 1911s are the days of having to get a custom hand finish one over with a T-sauce around. I would say, in my personal opinion, from shooting so many guns, you get peak gun. And by peak gun, I don't mean you get the best gun. I mean you get the best gun for your money at $2,000 to $2,500. That is peak gun. Closer to the 2,000 mark. Because that's the point where it seems like companies go from mass production to custom. And when you start going into custom work, the prices increase exponentially and very fast for even basic features, basic hand fitting, that might not give you a much better gun than the kind of production ones. But at $2,000, the companies that are manufacturing the guns know they have to create a quality product. So they're going to put enough effort into it with, things like good design, good metallurgy, reliability, components. You get a lot of gun for that. Now, there are some guns in that price range that are relatively cheap, and they're only that expensive because of rarity. So you can get things from like HK, and you're like, why in the hell does this thing cost so much money when it's a big chunk of polymer? It's because it's cool and it's HK. Same thing goes with, I want to say B&T, but, if you look at kind of the B&T product line, not their super duper high-end stuff, but like the average, APC, GHM, TP9, you get a good gun in the $2,000 to $2,500 range. I mean, you get a good gun. Any cheaper, they'd have to cut corners, and any more expensive, it might not be worth it. So it really depends after that point what you're willing to pay for and what you want. Do you want the prestige and the notoriety of owning, a Nighthawk Custom, an Atlas Gunworks, or an Infinity? Or do you want something that's kind of semi-production, semi-custom? And I would say that's where Staccato falls in the 2011 world. And I love them. I love them. I think you just get peak gun for that money. Let's see here. Joe Morgan asks, questions, why are you bald? Is like asking a question of why I'm bald. Oh, he says it's aerodynamic for the ladies. Can I keep their hands off me, especially the ones fresh out of rehab? Well, there you go, Joe. Well, the story about me being bald is I can remember the day I shaved my head for the first time. My grandfather, whose name was Joseph Baggett, he was a World War II veteran, and when I look at old pictures of him, he was my mother's father, I look very similar to him. I have the same kind of body structure. I have a lot of habits. I knew him, he died when I was 12 years old, back in like 1990, it was 92 or 93 is when he passed away. And he, I didn't get to know him all that well. I was just, too young. I have memories of him. I remember talking to him. I remember him taking me out in his pickup truck, and we went out and, got, fast food or whatever. But I wish I would have gotten to know him as an adult. My mom told me that I am the reason that he gave up drinking, that he had a drinking problem, and he wanted to be a great grandfather to me. So he gave up drinking, and he quit cold turkey, started going to AA because he loved me so much. And that's pretty cool and a cool testament, because he wanted to have me in his life. And he was bald. And when I look at old pictures of him, he was bald at a young age too. And he always had thin hair, and I had thin hair. And I remember I was getting my master's at the University of New Mexico. So I would have been between the ages of 22 and 24, probably somewhere in the middle, 23 years old. I had this thin hair. I got tired of, I was super duper poor. I hated having to go get my hair cut. Nothing ever looked good. I really didn't care about my hair. And a friend goes, why don't you just shave it? It was the summertime. I was taking summer classes. And I went over to his dorm. And he's like, why don't you just shave it? I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. So I tried like a number 3. I just went zzz. And I remember it was the most freeing thing I had ever experienced. When I got in my car, I rolled down the window in Albuquerque, and I drove, and I felt the air flowing over my head. I was like, this is awesome. This is awesome. And I started just shaving my head ever since. I started off with like a number 3. I couldn't go all the way, but now I just go all the way to the skin. And if I let this grow out, I look like a monk. You know, like a Franciscan monk, where I just kind of get like the donut around. So I just always shave my head, and I truly am bald up here. So that's the story. That's how I got this certain look. Going on. Wyoming Gun Project says, did I see the video that SIG just dropped? Now, of course, this was a couple of days ago, and the answer is yes. It was so funny. I talked about the P320 and how it was going. I guess all the news about it was kind of diminishing, and then SIG dropped that whole video on how the SIG works. So, you know, but still, I'm still not seeing as much P320 content. So for right now, until we have more definitive answers, you know, it's kind of dying away. It's kind of a fad. Richard Cool, I guess that's how you pronounce it, K-U-L-E, asked, why am I bald? Well, I just answered that. And Craig, okay, this is a great question. My friend Craig, local fan and subscriber, who also gave the channel the lineman trigger pull weight gauge, which I use in all of my range reports, and that is, you know, a great gift to the channel. He asks, my question is, why don't you record a sponsor video and just copy and paste it into your videos instead of recording it every time? I call it the Sesame Street attention span. Now, this is the best question that was asked on that video, and I have an answer. So what he's getting at is, why in every one of my range reports do I do a individual and special read just for that video of my sponsors' Brownworks information? And the reason is because I feel that Mark at Brownworks deserves it. That I want the Texas Gun Vault to be something special and different. Now, Mark has told me that I could create just an ad that is the same 30-second to a minute spiel in every one of my videos and just put it up there. And I know that other people that he sponsors do the same thing. And in no way am I saying that what they do is cheap or wrong, okay? Because we all have to do this our own way. And I love how everyone else does it their own way. But how Jason at the Texas Gun Vault does it is, I make sure that everybody that sponsors my channel in any capacity, whether that be lending a gun, or in the past, people have given me super chats or super thanks, or sent me Patreon donations or the like. Or in the case of Mark at Brownworks, you know, he defrays a lot of my costs for ammo. That I want them to know how much I appreciate it. Not only do I mention it in every video, you know, I thank them, but also people that lend guns to the channel, I detail clean their guns for them. And I show them, and if there's anything wrong with them that I can repair or fix, I do that for them. And Mark has done so much for the channel that I personally would feel that I am not giving him the value for his dollar if I did that. I want every one of my ad reads for him, as long as he sponsors the channel. And by the way, if he quit sponsoring the channel today, he would still have ads playing on the Texas Gun Vault for the next year in a month. Like, that's how far out I am. And that would be totally fine, because every one of those videos he sponsored, I would not alter them in any way, shape, or form. But I want people to know that the Texas Gun Vault is a genuine, authentic article. that I'm not some prefab thing where I take people and their support for granted. I want you to know that I am real. I want you to know that what you see on camera is what you really get. And that in the future, if somebody else wanted to sponsor, for example, if let's just say, I'm just going to throw something out here, okay? I know this isn't real. Let's just say Federal or B&T says, hey, you know, we want to help you with your channels. And we're going to throw you a little bit of money to help defray the costs of the filming, ammunition, getting the stuff you need, lights, cameras, whatever. And all we ask is that you mention that you sponsor us. And I want them to know that they just wouldn't get some canned thing. Now, would I take a sponsor? Yes, I would. The only thing I do is try to avoid conflicts of interest. So when I do a range report, the ad read for Brownworks is not a conflict of interest because I'm not reviewing a Brownworks grip, you know. And if I do a product review or a range report on a gun that was sent to the channel by a manufacturer, I make sure to let everybody know. I don't, you know, beat around the bush and be like, oh, I just pulled this out of the safe and blah, blah, blah. No, it's like they sent it to me for review. So you have all of the information and can decide, does it affect my biases in any way? I want you guys to have the real information. And I want you guys to feel like I'm shooting it straight to you. And I want anybody that would support my channel to know that you are going to get the individual attention that you deserve. That it's not a business for me. It's something special that is different than everybody else. That you're not just buying a 30-second, you know, me thanking the company for, you know, Federal Ammunition for sponsoring a video and so forth. It's not this canned thing. It's coming from the heart. It's real. And every time I make a video, because it's an individual ad read, it shows that I care. It shows that I appreciate what they've done. And I feel from an ethical and, you know, I won't say moral, but ethical standpoint, it's just good business. And it shows that I appreciate everything that they do. So that is why my ad reads for Brownworks are all unique. Every video gets its own. Does it make it harder to film a range report? Absolutely, it does. Because to get the opening in one take and to do the ad read in one take can be tough. And when I'm hot and I'm agitated out here, I'm sweating, and I make some mistakes, and I say the wrong things, and I got to do it 5 or 6 times, I get frustrated. And it might take me 40 minutes to get that opening segment done. And I could cut all that out by just doing a stock ad read, but I'm not going to do it. And by the way, once again, I am in no way besmirching anybody that does it any different, because we all do it different ways. And Mark has told me I can do that. He has given me permission and carte blanche, you know, permission. He said, I would still support your channel the same way. But that's not how I do it, because I just feel like I want to be the best. I want people that support my channel to know they're getting my best and to know that they're appreciated. So there you go. Great question, and I hope it answered it fully. All right, I believe I have one question left. And this one comes from Ricky. And Ricky asked question, what's your favorite watch brand and why? Now, I don't have a watch on right now. I actually forgot to take my G-Shock to the range. And I always take a G-Shock. It's kind of my new range watch. G-Shock Gravity Master. It's a great watch, durable. I don't worry about taking one of my more expensive watch brands to the range and potentially having it damaged because I'm shooting and all the recoil. Well, my favorite, obviously, is Rolex. It's kind of a status symbol, you know, and it's something that I always wanted to have when I was younger. And so I have a few of them now, and the ones I have, I absolutely love. They are my favorite watches. My favorite watch is my green bezeled Submariner. Some people call it the Cermet because it's the same color as the old aluminum bezel called the Kermit, but it's a lighter version than the older Starbucks, which had a darker green bezel. I have a Milgauss Z Blue. I have a green 41 Oyster Perpetual, and I also have a Polar White Dial Explorer 2. And that was my first one. They're my favorites. Why? Durability, history, and status. Are they the most expensive watch brand? No. But to me, they're old school. They look old. They have, their designs are timeless, and it's what I like. However, there are other watch brands that I really like. Like, I have come to appreciate G-Shocks, and they are, I mean, you have some expensive ones. I have an MTG, which I love, and that one is a relatively new one. It's about $800, $800 or $1,000, somewhere in that area. Love that. I have my Gravity Master $300 watch. But when it comes to like super expensive watches, my favorite company would be a company called Steinhardt. They're based, I believe it's a German company, but they use Swiss movements. They have kind of a Rolex-ish look. And for about $400 to $500, you get an amazing automatic watch. You get lots of different options, classic designs, and they have, in my opinion, they keep amazing time. I'm not 100% sure which movements they do put into them, but they work great. I also love Timex. I know that sounds crazy, and their watches are, $100. I have a couple of Timexes I absolutely love. I have an M79 automatic diver's watch. It is a cheap watch. It uses a Miyota movement that doesn't even have hacking, and what that means is when you pull out the crown, the second hand doesn't stop. So it's a really cheap movement, but I love that watch. I put it onto like a thin NATO strap. Love it. Oh, that reminds me. I also have a black Submariner ceramic year 2000 Rolex Submariner. I have that on a NATO strap that kind of looks like the James Bond one from Goldfinger. What else? I have a couple of Bulivas that I really like and a couple of Seikos. So it really kind of depends on what my mood is. I don't have to wear an expensive watch to like a watch. A watch can make you feel a certain way when you wear it. It's not a piece of jewelry. It can be a tool. It can be a symbol. And it can show your mood. Like, I have a great Seiko watch that I love. It's in a case they call the Turtle. It's just very cool color. It's like a blue and green bezeled one. Love that. A little bit bigger on my wrist, but it wears really well. Love my Steinhardts, like my Bulivas, like my Timexes. So like guns, I like really expensive stuff, but I also like really cheap stuff. If it like checks those boxes of like fun and interest, I'm right there with it. So there you go. I think that's all the questions you guys had. And as always, if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them. So thanks for joining me here in the garage for the first impressions on the Atlas Gunworks Titan and all of the answers to your questions. So if you watched to the end of this really long video, 33 minutes or so, the word of the day is, well, I'm going to come out of left field on this one. We're going to say gold. Gold is the word of the day because this pistol has gold accents applied by Vulcan Machine Works. So there's no way you can guess the word of the day if you didn't watch to the end. So thanks for joining me here in the Hot Garage. And as always, thanks for watching.